Welcome to Florida, the Sunshine State. Or wait a minute. Well, this video is going to start out a little differently than planned. Instead of sunshine, we were met with the force of Category 4 Hurricane Helene, which left a devastating path across the southeastern U.S., including Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee. With entire communities in North Carolina swept away by fast-moving floodwaters, we had to rethink our road trip. Originally set to head north from Tampa, we ended up waiting out the storm and taking off in a new direction, starting with the coastline to dodge the worst of the destruction. After the storm passed, the road ahead was as unpredictable as the weather. Dark clouds loomed and a rainbow stretched out across the sky. But as we pressed on, the skies began to clear, and the warmth of the golden afternoon sun lit up the horizon, promising a brighter stretch of road ahead. Well, y'all, we pulled up to Hogw Country Cafe, and let me tell ya, it's as charmingly southern as it sounds. We stepped right into this cozy old log cabin, and the place was filled with all kinds of quirky treasures. From a big gold longhorn skull to a deer head mounted up on the wall, you could feel that southern charm right off the bat. Shelves were lined with cans of the most unique jams you ever did see. Jars of pickled eggs and flavors you didn't know could be pickled. And spicy gator hammock sauces that'll put some fire in your belly. We settled in for some good old southern cooking, and let me tell ya, it was just what the heart needed. We stepped outside, and wouldn't you know it, that golden sun had slipped away, leaving the day to fade into a quiet dusk. Just as we were about to head out, we spotted a little kitten who didn't seem to know he was being watched. After a moment, the little fella finally looked up. I gave him a quick goodbye, hopped in the car, and we hit the road. With the night settling in, we found ourselves cruising down those dark country roads, hoping we didn't cross paths with any gators looking to make a midnight stroll. Good night, sweetheart, well, it's time to go. I hate to leave ya, but I really must say so. Good night, sweetheart, good night. We spent the night in Palatka, a small quiet town with a bit of old Florida charm. The next morning, we woke up to the sun rising over the St. Johns River, casting a peaceful glow over the water. Even here, you could see some of the damage left behind by Hurricane Helene. A boat washed up on the side, a reminder of nature's force. Before heading out, we just had to stop for brunch at the most beautiful diner I've ever seen, Angel's Diner, which is also Florida's oldest diner. It's like a 50s dream. I think Elvis would approve. How many hearts could live through all the winters we've known and still not be cold? True love travels on a gravel road. We then arrived in St. Augustine, the oldest town in the U.S., founded by Europeans, because as we all know, people had called this land home long before Europeans set foot here. We were greeted by a rainy Magnolia Avenue, framed by its towering century-old oak trees, stretched out before us like a quiet green tunnel, leading us to what was to be our home, nestled at the end of this enchanting promenade.
Darling, we are home.
You have arrived. We couldn't have chosen a better place to stay. By morning, the rains had settled, and Magnolia Avenue was bathed in a warm, golden glow, transforming the street into something out of a dream. Or a song. The house on Magnolia Avenue. We soaked in every second of walking its enchanting street. Right here on Magnolia Avenue is the most charming little juice and coffee spot, Fountain of Juice. They've got fresh juices, smoothies, acai bowls, and all kinds of tasty, healthy treats to keep your body looking as young as you feel. Speaking of youth, just across the street is the famous Fountain of Youth, where legend has it, explorer Ponce de Leon sought eternal youth. And this spot holds even more historical significance. This is where colonial America began, home to the first permanent European settlement in the United States. This area was settled in 1565 after being first explored by Juan Ponce de Leon in 1513. Long before their arrival, though, the Timucua people had lived in this area for over 500 years, shaping the land with a rich culture and history. We then headed into the heart of the city, exploring the charming streets of St. Augustine's historic Old Town. We started with Avell Street, one of the oldest streets in America, and you could feel the history in every step. The narrow cobblestone paths are lined with quaint, colorful buildings. What really caught my eye was the wild beauty of nature blending in. Tropical plants had grown into the very architecture itself, and lush greenery spilling over from the walls and arched doorways. It felt like a meeting of worlds, where the charm of old Europe meets the untamed wild Florida. Church bells serenaded us as we made our way through Plaza de la Constitución over to St. George Street and its vibrant atmosphere. St. George Street has a delightful mix of historic charm and lively energy. The street is lined with beautifully restored buildings, each telling its own story through unique architectural details. Many of the structures boast classic Spanish colonial design, featuring thick stucco walls, vibrant pastel colors, and there are also charming wooden houses. The inviting storefronts showcase an array of local shops, art galleries, and cozy cafes. In this garrison town, reenactors portray the life and times of the Spanish soldiers and their families in the 1740s colonial Spanish St. Augustine. And here's a charming pub right down our alley. We made a stop at the St. Augustine Coffee House, where I savored a refreshing iced latte under the hot Floridian afternoon sun. Inside, I discovered a charming little plaza, bustling with character. It was there that a whimsical witch with a twinkle in her eye wove her enchanting spell, inviting me to explore the hidden treasures within her magical realm. I see you exploring a castle soon, perhaps in England or Germany. You may meet a doctor or a dentist, but not for medical reasons. Events in your life come in threes. A new neighbor offers you friendship. Unexpected free time is in your future. You find love in a Mexican restaurant. Ah, wise enchantress, we shall keep this in mind and see what the future holds. But there are not just mystical ladies in this charming town. We spotted a pirate, casually hanging out on the street as we continued our exploration. The evening's light cast a truly enchanting glow over St. George Street, making every corner feel magical. Here, on this very street, stands the oldest school in the U.S., founded in 1784. Maybe we can finally learn a thing or two. For good kids, there are treats to be found. This pretzel shop has the most enchanting garden, hidden away in the back. As we wandered further, we discovered an arcade of artisanal craftsmen where talented artisans showcased their creations. The air was filled with the delightful scent of handcrafted goods, from intricate pottery to handmade jewelry. But all this exploring certainly worked up our appetites, and after receiving recommendations from various sources, we decided to visit the Floridian for our dinner escapades and some southern food. We were recommended to try a truly unique meal, unlike anything I'd had before. Waffles topped with glazed pecans, drizzled with honey, and, yes, it sounds like a dessert, but pulled pork. It's quite the intriguing combination. Personally, I prefer to keep my dinner and dessert separate. But hey, whatever floats your boat, I'm all for trying new things, and now I've tried it. As you know by now, we love our music. So we headed over to Casa de Vino 57 to enjoy some live tunes. The atmosphere was electric, with an enthusiastic audience that added to the vibrant energy of the night. Naturally, we vibed along, soaking in the rhythm and letting the music carry us away. We decided to cap off the evening with our own ghost tour, taking a stroll through a graveyard. After all, how better to spend the night in the oldest town in the U.S. than among its hauntingly beautiful history? I filmed our entire stroll so I could look back later and maybe catch a glimpse of some ghostly energies on camera. When I first reviewed the footage, I felt a rush of excitement as I spotted orbs dancing around the gravestones. But then I realized it was probably just a reflection of the streetlight. Or was it? As night turned to day, we awoke to another breathtaking sunrise, this time casting its golden hues over the Matanzas River. As the day awakened, we made our way to Castillo de San Marcos National Monument. Built between 1672 and 1695, it's the oldest masonry fort in the United States. While Castillo de San Marcos stands as a symbol of resilience and architectural prowess, it also carries a somber history. The fort was built during a time of conflict and colonization, and witnessed the suffering of the indigenous people whose land was taken from them. Many Native Americans were captured and held as prisoners within its walls, a painful reminder of the violent struggles for control over this territory. The Castillo serves as a poignant reminder of the complex legacy of this historic site and the people who lived through its tumultuous past. We bid farewell to the iconic city, crossing the Bridge of Lions as we set off toward our next adventure. So long, y'all. If you have any questions about our time here, just holler. Do-do-do-do-do-do.